just to wrap things up, here's what we wanted to do. You know, sometimes my sense is that I go to a conference and I find everything, you know, I sit through some interesting presentations and discussions, but at the end of the morning, I don't really know what I've learned or what I'm taking away. And it would be good to have some clarification, a little bit of bringing it to a close and drawing a conclusion. So we've invited a couple of investor relations officers up who have been paying attention all morning to help us out with this, to help give me at least some takeaways from the morning, things to remember, the headline findings. Let me introduce who we have. So next to me here, Randy Hung is Executive Director and CFO for China Fiber Optic Network System. And Randy, of course, many of you know here in the IR community in Hong Kong, in addition to being CFO at China Fiber Optic, he's also non-executive director of China Shineway Pharmaceutical Group, and that's where he previously handled corporate development and investor relations. He's also non-executive director of Zhongyu Gas Holdings. Plus, Randy is vice chairman of HKIRA. And is a council member of the Hong Kong Institute of Directors. CP Cheng is head of IR for Franshion Properties. And of course, you already heard about CP. We heard from one of his analysts. We put you kind of in an uncomfortable spot, CP, but I knew the answer was going to be favorable. You've, in fact, nominated today for Best Investor Relations Officer, so good luck with that. CP has been in the real estate industry since the early 1990s. He's a licensed surveyor. He got his MBA in Europe, came back to Hong Kong, worked in IR for a blue chip property developer before joining Franshion Properties. And Franshion is about 23 billion Hong Kong dollar market cap, operator of large-scale, high-end commercial real estate projects in PRC. Let's go back even before the first session this morning. Let's go back a little bit about HKIRA. Randy, from hearing from Eva Chan in her welcome address, the organization is healthy, working with the stock exchange, over 230 members. How are things going with HKIRA?
We're doing fine. The organization is very young. It was founded by a group of IR professional a couple of years ago, and ever since then our membership double every year, and we are trying to promote the IR position as a professional positions. I don't see the reason why that IR cannot be the lawyer or the accountants, which deserve a lot more of professional recognitions. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're trying to work hard for, and to do that we need support from all of you, because if we have more members, then our voice will be louder. Sorry.
Good point. Okay, so going for the IR certification, building the professionalism of this position. CP, then we went on to hear from Tim Craighead from Bloomberg about the macro picture. He said, 7.5% growth in China next year. He called that an okay outlook. For a lot of parts of the world, that would be an unbelievably good outlook, but it's an okay outlook for China. He called it benign. I mean, how do you, he talked about a lot of crosswinds, but it was in generally sort of a favorable outlook for China. You are very close to this, considering Franshion Properties, the business you're in. How do you see the macro picture in China and going into 2014?
Well, I think our sector fundamental is very good. If you check the numbers, the sales number, we call the contracted sales number. I think many companies, we can achieve something like 20 to 30% growth a year. That is a very good number. I think that relates to the economy, the GDP growth. And one thing that I see from Tim's presentation, Bloomberg, is regarding China property bubble. Okay, I'm from China property sector.
Yes.
I can say that no bubble. And our budget, also no bubble. And I think Elizabeth agreed with me.
No bubble in your IR budget or in Chinese property. Fair enough. Tim talked about a lot of points. He talked about the third plenum and the 60 points coming out of PRC. He talked about SOE reform. He talked about Japan. He talked about and of course then he talked about China housing, and it's really surging right now. The prices are really surging right now. But you're staying positive. No bubble. Is that right?
Yes. This year, yes. And I think the government, they are beware, okay? We are IRO, yes. Beware of my words, okay? I think the government has been doing many things. The policy, in our sector, we have many policy since 2004, every year with policy. So without the policy, maybe already a bubble. But now the government is doing many things to make sure that the market is healthy. So that's why I'm so confident now.
Okay. Randy, the other thing that Tim brought up was that one of the things we're seeing coming out of the Chinese market for opening up the market is the IPO market opening up on the mainland. That's been a long time coming. How do you see that affecting just the environment for publicly listed companies in this region?
Well, first of all, I think it's a great thing for HKRA because we're going to get more members, right, for more IRO. But the more listed company come to Hong Kong and they can raise the fund and then there will be more investors coming to see companies either through their Hong Kong rep office or go to China, and there will be more demand on IR person. So that means our salary will be higher.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Good point. Okay. So then, CP, from there, we went on to talking about market expectations and guidance. And we heard you and Franshion held up as an example of good guidance, of good managing market expectations. What were some of your takeaways from that session in terms of how you guide the market and how you can manage analyst expectations?
Well, I think the details are difficult to explain now, but I can say that I always think from their shoes. I mean, inside their shoes. I mean, these analysts, they have their thinking, their model. So you need to think from their side and to provide information in their ways. That means their definition, and then they are happy they can use the information directly in their report or maybe model. That is a very good guidance for them.
It's a great point. So understanding what the drivers are behind their models, how they're developing their estimates and work that way. In the last few years, with the uncertainty around Chinese property, with volatility of the market, has it become more difficult to give guidance? Is the future less certain, or is there more uncertainty in the picture?
I think you're right. Sometimes the company, I don't know different company, but my company sometimes we have some data information. You need to do something about the data information, and some data information maybe is about the future. If you just give them the data, maybe it's wrong. For myself, in the past or now, I would do something about the data information, and then I guide the analysts in my way. And so far, I'm correct. I'm so happy for that. But it's not easy, I know that. How to control, massage the numbers.
Okay. Randy, short-termism, the short-term outlook, the quarter-to-quarter numbers game that some analysts seem to play, that some companies play. We heard from Paul Smith about how possibly investors, in terms of their motivations, in terms of how they're being measured, could be going towards a more longer-term outlook. What's your view on in terms of the short-term nature of the market? Can companies refocus investors on the long term?
If there's one important thing that I learned in today from all the speakers, it's actually one big theme is the trust. From Carol talking about you need to give good guidance to gain trust from the investors, and then even Catherine mentioned about the debt investor also they need a lot of information just like equity, and but nowadays because of the technology that trust can go away very quickly because of the online issue. One negative reports or press on the online, whatever web page they are in China or somewhere in the world, then your reputation will go to drain. We're talking about reputation risk here. Now, what can IR officer do? I mean, what kind of weapon they have to to defend or even counter-attack that kind of risk, So that's why, company like ESQ, they have, or NASDAQ, they have the technology there. And when we should use those, we should learn and use those technologies. And in particular, be prepare yourself how to, defend or counter-attack that kind of situation. I mean, our company is one of the victims. We have one big page of negative report from newspaper back in March this year. Our share price dropped half, but now it gradually recovered. But during that time, our bank don't trust us. We were in the process of getting some, debt investor, and they just walk away, just like that. So what do you do?
It's a great point about trust, and because we heard about that from Carol Wu. She talked about guidance. The right kind of guidance builds trust, right?
Right.
The wrong type, the under promising, over delivering consistently ruins the trust. Gary Ng from Lenovo told me a great story the other day. He said when his daughter asks him, "What do you do, Dad? What is your job?" He says, "I'm a salesman, but I'm not selling a product or service. I'm selling credibility," right? So I think it's a great way of looking at the job of investor relations.
Right.
Now, Randy, you gave a great sort of segue or introduction into what we went on to next, talking about using technology, talking about, I gave a presentation on some of the things I'm seeing in terms of technology and investor relations. We talked then about TSMC, how they do a lot with a small budget. CP, what was your takeaway from that discussion of both technology but also other issues of doing a lot with limited resources?
I like your presentation on the new technology. I should let my CFO know and increase the IR budget. And I should not let my CFO know what Elizabeth presents. That's my conclusion.
Okay. What about you, Randy? We were talking about IR websites. We were talking about, working with a small team versus a big team. What were some of your lessons from that?
I actually agree with Elizabeth a lot when she talked about, it's not the amount, it's the value. And, you kind of have to find a way to justify that value to your management to commit that amount, right? I mean, you have to let them know, what kind of impact or negative impact they have if you don't, utilize technology well. I mean, for example, the case that I just mentioned back in March, it was starting from a press, and then it goes to a web page, and then it goes all around the world, in blogs and emails and stuff. So if you don't have a budget for the technology, you're losing already.
Good point. Okay.
So you got to prepare ahead.
Now, Randy, we finished up just before our discussion now on the issue of debt, investor relations. Now, of course, as CFO, you're looking at different financing options. You're looking at equity. You're looking at debt. What's your view of the environment for debt issuance and, for that matter, the actual job of outreach to debt holders?
We work with commercial banks and investment bank in terms of issuing, coming together with different kind of financing alternative. But just like Catherine mentioned, that nowadays the debt investor or even commercial bank, they look at the company just like equity. Of course, sometimes, they even look into more about, for example, we are a non-state-owned company, an entrepreneur kind of type of company. So they will look more into who is actually in control of that company. In particular, now, they even look at, what's his family background? Where does he live? Does he have a second wife? What's his health conditions? These are the things that are, it might not be very academic, but a lot of sometimes even debt investors ask these questions.
Okay, good point. CP, any takeaways from that session for you in terms of debt IR?
Well, I think Franshion Properties, we are still a company in terms of debt. We are it's a little bit unfair to other peers in the sector because we are still a company, and the bond investor, they usually trust the state-owned company. So sure. It's easier for us to issue that at a lower cost. Okay.
And maybe less need for that hand-holding on an ongoing basis that we were discussing.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, well, listen, I can hear the sounds of a party starting out there. I think we should go and join in. We're now getting ready for the Greater China Awards for 2013. As I mentioned before, 39 different companies nominated for awards today, including Franshion Properties. So good luck, CP Cheng. Randy Hung, CP, thank you very much for helping me wrap up this event. Thanks all of you for your attention and your time.